Right, thank you so much for making time and for joining us on the program yet again. My name as always is Eugene Anangwe. We're on the program today to debate a very serious issue which has received a number of comments from various quarters. Of course, it's the issue of street children in the streets of Rwanda. And the question we're asking ourselves is, where have we gone wrong on this particular issue? And of course, those who have come up with solutions, are those solutions working? We'll be debating this and more right here on the program. You can be a part of the program by just getting in touch with us through the addresses that are on your screen right now. On Twitter, at debate411, hashtag is debate411, or you can tweet me directly at Eugene Anangwe. Let me bring on board our panelists on the program. We have none other than Bizimungu Hodal. Thank you for joining us, Bizimungu. And of course, we also have Frederick. Thank you for joining us on the program. Social worker and of course a missionary. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Jim.
Also with us is none other than this name disappears, Emma TK.
Yes.
Emma, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Eugene.
Uko salama.
Salama.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you.
Ethan, thank you for being on the program, man.
Thank you, Eugene.
Are you ready to talk about this issue?
Yes.
Right, from a journalistic point of view, and of course we're looking forward to hear more from you on this particular issue. Now, we have had a lot going on about the issue of street children. We still see them here and there, especially in the evenings when, you know, we are driving from work and going to a supermarket to buy, to do your evening shopping. As you go home, you'll always see them, buy me this, I need this. But how would you guys look at this issue, especially when it comes to dealing with it? Let's start from the missionary here and the social worker, because most people always look up to you guys to play a role in dealing with these people. You have handled the issue of the prostitutes, but of course that's a wait for another day. But for the street children, what runs in your mind when you see this?
I see a kid from a dysfunctional family. I see a kid who's faced lots of hurt in their lives. And they don't see home to be a safe place. They think a solution is out there in the streets. Yep.
That's what you see.
That's what I see.
And what about you, man?
Oh, thank you. I see street children as a result of the absence of care from their parents. From the absence of having the basic needs like food, shelters. So the alternatives now running to streets as their best home for gaining those things.
Right.
Through begging and other things.
So they see that as the solution for them. Emma, TK, what do you see? Do you agree with the two of them, first of all? He says he sees someone who is seeing hope in the streets. And for him, these are children who are not getting that particular care from home, and they feel that they can find it from the streets through begging. Yeah,
sure. I see this problem as the government has concentrated much on youth who have been on street for so long. As the result, they have created a very successful center for vocational training, which is Iwawa. But the government has forgotten or has delayed in acting against these families who are on street. You can see those moms, those mothers who are on street with kids. So they are educating those kids that you can easily get life on the street without working. They are the same. Right. You start working with your mom on the street at the age of one, then at the age of 5, that mentality has been
gotten into you
on your mind that the only survival, which is very easy, is on the street. Yeah.
So you feel there's a lack of focus too much also on these children.
Those families.
They've gone too much to the youth who we have created a center for.
Yeah.
Ethan, do you agree with this?
No, I see as the issue of street children, I see it as a failure on all stakeholders, including the social workers.
Including you?
Oh,
of course, yes. When you say
including
all,
you, the journalist.
You said all, right.
Well, as maybe journalists, we've also failed in one or the other by just attending press conferences and telling us how far the government has gone in trying to sort out the issue of street children and going to attend the events of social workers and giving us testimonies of how they have tried to save a few children off the street and all that. But
so we're not going deeper into pushing for solutions
as an issue. Maybe as some weekly policymakers, I have to bring in maybe the government. They have not possibly done what they should do in trying to see this issue coming to an end. This is an issue that we've talked about over and over again. You know, it's actually so sad when you see, I don't know, when you see the president coming out and, you know, saying, hey, what is failing? What is it that we don't have to make this issue? And then from that moment, you see the government, you know, you see the ministries, you see the police, you see everyone coming up and they're like, yeah, we need to end this issue.
You need to end this thing. So you feel, I mean, a sense of a failure from the civil society? I mean, not civil society, but
everyone,
the public
civil
service.
society and the public service,
Yes.
you know, we've all failed.
Right. When he mentioned that, I mean, do you agree that you've failed? Let's also categorical.
I don't think we failed.
Yes.
He's just given an example of him, you know, being in meetings, being called to press conferences. They need to come see what's worked out. Because this is all about transformation of lives.
Yeah.
A child is from a dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
Now, have you been to where I'm working or where I've been to see, you know, the issue of the kid?
Yeah.
You know, a kid who came from a dysfunctional family. But now, because I've reached out to him, you know, I listened to his story, he has a future because he's saying, there's hope for me from that guy. There's hope for me from TK. There's hope for me from Hodari.
Yeah.
Now, why do I say this? I've mentioned, you know, dysfunctional families because that's number one reason as to why kids run from home. Now, the moment these kids run from home, they're seeing hope to be on the streets. But what does the street give them? They face violence. You know, a shop is robbed next door. What do I think of? I always think of the street kid who always hangs around that place. So when I see that kid, in a missionary perspective, as a social worker, I'm seeing hope.
You're seeing hope.
I'm seeing hope. I'm seeing a kid who can be transformed and has a future.
But
and
as
has a
you
destiny.
see hope, he feels that there's a failure. I mean, it's not enough to see hope. There needs to be action to be able to realize that hope in this particular
Let me
case.
tell you how these guys are failed.
That's
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
Let me tell you, the
Yes.
social workers have failed in this way.
Yes.
They've always wanted to do something good, but when it comes to practical things, they fail. You know, all they want is, you know, numbers. We are sponsoring over 5,000 kids, and
Yes.
you know, they take that proposal to their, you know,
Financials.
yes. And that's it. And then when they come back, they have
Business as usual.
business as usual, as long as they get salary
funding.
at the end of the month, and you know, they get funding, and they come, they pay all the logistics of the month, and you know, they keep, all they do is probably, you know, support these kids, a few kids in school, and that's
And then it ends there.
And it ends there.
Hodari,
No, I
Street
don't-
Kids Foundation. I mean, probably not just to go there directly, but probably what he says, this is a mentality in the minds of not just him. We have other people watching us today, and they have the same mentality. These people are just looking for donors. But why are we seeing these kids still in the streets? I mean, do you agree with this thought?
I don't buy his point in the sense that, taking a look at the numbers after genocide, around 98, 2000, there was big number of street children on the streets of Rwanda. But taking a look on the numbers today, they're
So
now
the numbers have
diminishing
gone
now,
down.
which means that we can't conclude that we are failing at all. We are failing at some pace, but we are doing some work.
Where are we failing? Or where are you failing?
We are failing with the collaboration with the government officials,
What's going on there?
whereby the government has a budget. Take an example in a district, the government sends a budget for care, for taking care of those children. But the government officials tend to misuse those funds. They divert funds in another things.
And you have proof of this?
Yes.
Actually,
And another failure,
Yeah.
it's whereby you find parents. We say that parents, they are living in a poor family, poverty, which drives children to streets. But in another way, it's not true.
Yeah.
We find some parents, they are energetic, but they tend to teach their children to go and beg on streets.
So what he says is not true, that it's dysfunctional families that push these people in the streets. We have families that are strong, but the parents are the ones telling them, go and beg, go and bring all that. But let me bring him on something that he mentioned, and which also TK said here, and that was the role of the government. But come on, guys, someone says,
I actually want to question
how
the
do we
government.
always expect everything to be done by government?
But
TK.
If I can say that,
You want the government to do everything?
no,
Spoon feed everybody?
I don't support.
What would the private sector do? What does the civil society do?
So I will buy the idea of Hodal, what they are doing. I think if we come as young people with those small local NGOs like the one they have, like the one we have, we deal with 10 or 20 kids. That issue will maybe end up with those small group. But another thing I would like to add, what my friend, my colleague is saying, that issue of street kids is a very demanding issue. It starts from shelter, food, every kind of finance. And that the big problem with those local and international NGOs, they like numbers, as he said. And you can't have a big number of those street kids because they ask a lot. And those NGOs, they like to, they want to be good salaries. They want good meetings, traveling
So
here
do we
and
do
there.
away with the NGOs? Do we do away with them? Would that be the solution?
I think
If we start, that problem would.
If I might interrupt
Yeah.
with a question,
Yeah.
I think we need to do away with some NGOs because some of them are not on the ground at all. I mean,
So they're the
we're
ones
raising-
painting your images.
Yeah, we are raising, guys are raising millions of USD. But where does that money go to? You know, you find me drive my big car out on the streets. But then you ask, what really goes into that kid? Is he really getting the basic care that he really needs? Some of the kids have felt cheated on the streets because, you know, we've given them handouts. You know, I go out in the streets, let me probably give an example of Kisimenti. And, you know, I gather a bunch of street kids, give them a few breads, loaves of bread, and at the end of the day, you know, it's a big thing. You know, I do a feeding every day, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in that thing, I could only be doing it about once every other month.
So is that wrong? Is that wrong?
No, it's wrong.
If I
It's
drive
wrong
and I
because
park there and
we
I see
need-
them and I give them...
It's wrong
is it
because
wrong?
we need lasting
Solutions,
solutions.
right.
You know, we don't need temporal solutions.
What would be the lasting solution?
Lasting solution would be, first of all, I'm in for foster care, okay? Whereby, and I want to touch back where the journalists touch and TK touch a little bit
Yes.
about the government.
Yes.
I don't feel the government needs to do for us everything. We got wealthy people in this nation,
Yeah.
in this city where we are, in Kigali.
Yes.
And I feel if a child is from a dysfunctional families, there's a family that child would fit in. You know, a lot of times you want quick results. And quick results are not going to come within a day. You know, it's going to require your time. It's going to require your resources. I mean, if you've identified with a kid out in the streets, I'd probably say, one day, take them for a cup of tea. I mean, listen to their story. Why are they on the streets?
But you're shooting yourself on the foot. You're saying one day.
Yeah.
Is that lasting? Because you're saying if I'm going
I'm
to buy...
saying one day. Like, that's day one. I'm
Yeah.
not just saying
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah.
It's day one. I
Yeah.
mean, take them out for a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Share a cup of tea. Listen to their story. What's your story? And the second day, do something different. Yeah. Get deeper. Ask them,
Jane.
where you from?
Ethan doesn't seem to agree on this.
You see, okay, we are putting it so much in NGOs, and I just have one thing to tell
Yes,
about
yes,
it.
Ethan.
NGOs, you know, would have actually been the best, would have gotten the best opportunity from the moment the government said we've closed all the orphanages, but we've created transit centers. That's where the NGOs would have come and they're like, okay, we are going to the transit centers, let's pick many kids, let's have them out. But again, let's not forget that also, you know, public sector has also failed. I was trying to make some research a few minutes ago and I realized that in 2014,
Right.
there was about 39 million Rwandan francs that was, you know, earmarked to, you know, to help, you know, these street kids to end this problem. I don't know where that money went, so I probably need to ask the government where did that money go.
But these guys are the ones who take that money in the conference.
No, basically, I mean, going back to that particular issue,
Right.
this is where probably Ethan people will point back a finger to the journalists and say, okay, do you want the government to respond you back and say this is where the money went?
So,
you need to do investigative
They're
journalism.
not
Yeah.
informed.
Sure.
The
I
journalists
don't-
are not informed.
Yeah.
I'm here
Yes.
on debate 411
Yes.
asking the government where did that 39 million
Yes,
go.
yes. Are you expecting an answer?
Maybe someone will speak to you.
Answers will be always there.
Talking of two gentlemen, let me just bring in some of those who are
Right.
watching us right now. I mean, there's several of the tweets coming through. There's one from Julian that says, government initiatives on street kids is great, but lacks sustainability. For
Right.
example, those who come from Iwawa still end up in similar situations.
Exactly.
Is this true? The journalists, do you
Maybe
research
we-
this? Is this true? Most of those who come out from this initiative like Iwawa, that most of them still end up back in the streets.
I'm not so sure about this, but
Yes.
I also want to, if that's the case, then
Yeah.
I wish someone. That's why I was asking you.
Yeah.
Why didn't you bring someone from the, from the Ministry of
Let's start with you first.
Let's start
So
with
because
you.
we would have gotten to know if there is a follow-up after that.
Yeah. But we can do this through our reports,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
TK,
Yes.
let's not just turn the ball on him or the heat on him only. Do you also feel the same? Do you also feel the same that these initiatives like the Iwawa one,
Yeah.
because you actually mentioned some of these transit centers
Yes.
and the Iwawas and the centers for these ones. Do you feel that these are lasting solutions
Yeah.
to this issue of street kids?
So I think for those street kids, you cannot take that street kid from the street and take him back or take her back to in a home, in their respective homes. They have a transit center, a rehabilitation center, a psychotherapy care. He needs psychotherapy care before he is taken back to in their respective homes. So I think that transit center is needed, either from the government institution as with the same forces they have put in Iwawa Center. They can also bring. I don't think in Rwanda we have more than 5,000 street kids.
Yeah.
But Iwawa has produced so far more than 5,000 youth from Iwawa. They spend there a whole year, then they come out with psychologically good people that can construct.
So you do not agree with this comment here?
No, I think a transit center is needed for them to go back in their respective homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Street Kids Foundation, do you feel that Iwawa Center, we need more of the Iwawas, or you feel there's still a question mark there? It's not a long-lasting solution to this issue of street kids.
I think solutions are not on like one solution, or they are in phases.
Yeah.
As my friend has said, you need first of all to take care of those children. You briefly discuss with them. You know what drives them to, on the streets,
Yeah.
what causes them to go there.
Yeah.
Then afterwards, you do what you call rehabilitation. You now you look for their homes.
Yeah.
If they have, you take them back. If they don't have, you look for another solution.
Yeah.
But I don't see Iwawas and other
Centers.
centers as
A single solution.
a lasting solution,
Yeah.
because there needs to be a follow-up. If you are coming from Iwawa, where do you go? What do you do where you are now from Iwawa? Then it means that, but also don't buy his idea that they are meaningless. Iwawas and the other centers, they are of importance. Because we normally see people from Iwawa producing too many things, chairs. They are now becoming good people in life. They are changing life for people, other people, starting from their families.
Right.
So we can't buy the point that Iwawas and centers are useless.
Right. There's another comment here which says, many of these street kids are talented. We need to tap into this to enable them thrive. We are looking for talent from schools only. Even when we are hiring people.
I
We are
agree.
always going there. Do you agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Eugene, I was talking to you about the other day
Yeah.
about a young guy
Yeah.
in Kabeza.
Yeah.
This guy has probably produced about 600 songs.
Right.
But he's not gotten somebody to create awareness for him. He was a former street kid. He's just lying there.
Yeah.
Now, where I feel, especially the point, and back to the journalist, I feel they're not really informed. They need to get to the ground. He talks of we coming with our presentations and calling for press conferences. I would hit back at the person calling for that press conference and say, can you come? Listen to this guy's story. Because I believe there's so much talent out in the streets. But tapping that talent, getting somebody to move them through, that is what we lack.
Right.
And that's why I'm a big campaigner. We don't just need the government. You and I are the government. We are a lasting solutions to those people's problems. Yeah.
We do not need the government.
We don't need the government.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you agree?
We don't need the government.
But-
We need government's, like policies. Government has always to, to set a pace in one or the other.
Exactly.
You understand? Like they introduced child care, fostering, they were promoting fostering and adoption, and I just heard of it. I've never had,
It's working out.
Where is it?
Have you
Where
heard
is
about
it?
Peace Plan?
Yeah.
Peace Plan, the Rick Warren Foundation. They're doing amazing work in Rwanda. And I mean, you need to have Mary Kamanzi on this show.
Yeah.
She's been a big campaigner of foster parents.
Yeah.
And there's an orphanage that's almost getting closed down. I don't know how many hundred kids they have, but these kids have gotten loving families, people who care for them. Herself, she as a kid from that home has grown to be a very loving boy. He sees them, he calls them mommy, daddy, because he doesn't know of any other place.
So we need to inform them more.
We need to inform them.
Eugene, we need to inform these people.
Yes.
I know of a lady, Kamanzi. She has done a great job. But you see, she has been going to different churches and telling, churchgoers, their congregations, you need to adopt kids. But that's why it has stopped. I know of a church where she probably went, and I don't know if we got one or two people, parents, fostering one or
Supportive,
two
yeah.
kids.
So you feel that we have these campaigns, we have these calls, but very few people usually heed the call.
Very few people get to learn about the concept of helping kids out of the street, fostering people. So we need I don't know how to say this. We need a very aggressive kind of mechanism to get everyone
on board.
I agree with that bit of mechanism.
But before we get deeper into that, just hold that particular thought, because we want to bring in some of our viewers here as well. I love bringing them in because we've asked them to tweet us. There's Vuguziga, that is at Octave_Omar. And he says Iwawa and other centers are not useless. And he comes back to says we need the inputs from the different parts of our government. There's another tweet right here which says that street kids initiatives failing die to poor government collaboration. Another one says the panelists are suggesting that also a result of training by street parents. The street parents need also to be trained right there. But we're going to take a very short break because we need also to, create a bit of awareness of some of the other shows that we have right here on Royal TV because talk of awareness. But when we come back, we move the conversation forward. There's the question of actually you raised it, and we're going to bring it back, the issue of the giving. The handouts.
The handouts, yes.
Are we promoting this when it comes to handouts? And what should we do as the way forward? All right?
Exactly.
So when we come back from the break, do stay with us. Keep tweeting, talk to us at Debate411. I'd love it. Bring those tweets, let them keep coming. I see Kitofu Nelson. Keep tweeting. When we return, I'll be sampling some of those comments at Debate411, at Eugene Anangwe. The hashtag is Debate411. See you in a bit.